Welcome to Force for Growth Live. I'm Ricardo.
I'm Courtney. Happy Friday. And before we get started, make sure you are following us at Force for Growth on Instagram, Facebook. So we're about to make some changes there, but some juicy stuff's coming. But welcome. What are we
Welcome.
talking about?
Oh, man. Before we do that, review the podcast. If you're listening on Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, leave us some comments. We read those comments and those reviews. Let us know that we're on the right track or what topics you would like to hear about. Or visit forceforgrowth.com and let us know what you think.
Yes, please give us some honest feedback and thank you in advance for that.
All right. So
All right.
it's Freestyle Friday, but let's go ahead and kick off with Success Magazine.
Yes.
Who's the cover boy, Courtney?
Mark Cuban.
Mark
Yes.
Cuban,
Our favorite, our Dallas favorite.
our Dallas favorite, Mark
Mhm.
Cuban. We're going to discuss and share some of the takeaways from Success Magazine and Mark Cuban. What do you got, Courtney?
That's an amazing article. Okay, so I have a bunch, but to make it, he talked a lot about philosophy degree being more important than maybe a computer science degree and things like that, and how the industry is actually going to turn more back towards mindset and more the philosophical techniques and lessons that we're realizing a large part of society never learned: how to find your happy, how to hustle, how to be productive, how to get through things, and how, it's all kinds of things that of course play a role in business. So he brought up that it's going to go more to the philosophical side, so you're always a learner. And so he talked about that throughout the entire article about staying a learner and small business owners, and we'll get into more on that and the AI stuff and suggestions. But yeah, I love that. So I love the term eternal learner, so I feel like Mark Cuban's telling us to be an eternal learner
Mm,
and
I
innovate.
agree. Here's the thing. Here's the one of the things that stuck out to me out of several, and we'll link below in the description and the comments to this article. It's available on success.com. Make sure you go visit and read the entire article. He says, you have to grind. It takes work. There are no shortcuts. There's going to be failure, and if you are not able to hustle, if you are not able to grind, you're not going to be able to fight through those things.
Yes. Great point, right? We are always learning it.
You got
There's
to
always new
hustle.
levels.
We're getting soft. I personally think as a society, we're getting soft.
Yeah.
We're getting used to this whole microwave society where you put it in and it comes right back out, nice, ready, and done. And
Mhm.
I don't think that's helping us as people.
Yeah. And he talked a lot about innovation, but exactly that microwave society, it's not just one route to your goal. You have infinite routes to your goal. You just need to stay in motion, keep an eye out, listen to the feedback, take it into account, take the criticisms, so there are infinite paths. There's not just one copy and paste path. That if
No.
it didn't work the way your neighbor did it, you can't either. No, create a new way, create a new path. And that's a large amount what the article's about.
Yeah, he talked about that copy and paste lifestyle. That you can't just copy what someone else doing and expect it to work T for T and I for I.
Yeah,
That's a big one.
that is.
What else? What else do you have?
Let's see. Okay, so he did talk about AI, and he went into a lot of details. So go ahead and read the article for more, but basically suggestions for what small business owners can do in the realm of the technologies that already exist and how you can incorporate that with, such as Alexa in the home. What if a small business had a device that all I had to do was, hey, make my coffee now, have it ready in 5 minutes or something. I just had to shout it out. That product would sell like crazy. So incorporating those things already out there, but being open. I think they talked about, well, maybe they didn't talk about the depression, but basically talking about the opportunities that are about to arise after this downturn in 2020 that we experienced. If you are one of the innovators, one of the pioneers, one of the people willing to try new things, it can pay off massively. And in the Great Depression, if you look, more millionaires were made in the years following during the recovery from the Great Depression than ever in history. And they stayed consistent. So not every single business, not every single individual, but if you take on that mindset, that philosophy, you're going to get a lot farther instead of we're in winter. Oh no, I have to wait for spring. No, create your
No,
own spring.
correct. That's big. That's big. And one of the other things he mentioned was being a small business and not knowing technology to make it a point for you to be taken advantage of. In other words, just because you're a small business doesn't mean you need to be taken advantage of by people who are throwing fancy things your way.
Yeah, and in fact, that's the next one I was gonna bring up. He tells me he's this is the, gentleman who wrote the article talking about Mark Cuban. He tells me he's particularly concerned with the possibility of small business owners being taken advantage of by people claiming to be able to help them with this technology. So, don't be quick to pay someone else to do something that just might be a few hours of your time to learn.
Correct. Or just by posting on Facebook, hey, can someone help me with this? Does anyone know WordPress? Can someone really take me through this really quick? And I'll comp you some of my services or I'll comp you some of my product, that type of
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah, if we are sitting on so many resources. Stop,
People are
don't
willing
let
to
your
help
mind
you.
close.
Yeah.
It's keep it
W-
open.
One of the things I loved, and I've known this, and it highlights it on this article, he slept on the floor for nearly a year with six roommates in a three-bedroom apartment to save for his first company, Microsystems.
Yeah, I love that whenever they referenced a shark gentleman that came on Shark Tank and basically said in his business plan, "Well, I'm gonna pay myself a modest salary," with that, and he got criticized by Mark Cuban for that.
Yep.
Speaks
I slept
volumes.
on the floor for nearly a year.
Yeah.
On the floor. You gotta be willing to do the work. That's what it comes down to. Do you think it was comfortable to sleep on the floor with
Nope.
6 people in a three-bedroom apartment?
But did it drive him more every day? You
Yep,
bet.
yep. You gotta grind through it sometimes. You gotta hustle, you gotta do the work, and that's one of the things that I appreciate about Mark Cuban and, Elon Musk. They both
Mhm.
kinda say the same thing in different ways.
Yeah.
What else? Final thought on the article, Courtney.
I love it. To me, it was just open your mind, stay a pioneer. Don't slip back and don't believe others' limitations right now because there's going to be two groups of businesses, really. There's going to be the businesses that kind of fell and took others' advice, only listened to the how that other people did it instead of researching like how can I do this different? And just play around in that space for a while.
Yeah. The big thing, my final thought is he's still a learner. He's still learning, he's still reading. He says as of when this was written, he was reading Competing in the Age of AI and Healthy Buildings. He loves to read, he loves to learn, he's still engaging his mind, and you know who else does that? It's Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Bill Gates still reads. Elon Musk still reads. All these guys that are at the top where you think they can kind of probably just coast through, they're still reading, they're still learning, they're still engaging, they're still exploring the infinite possibilities that the universe has to bring them.
Hmm.
And if you're an entrepreneur, if you're in business for yourself, if you're doing whatever it is that you're doing, and you think when I get to the top, I can finally rest, mm,
No, and in fact, David Nieves, I tuned into one of his in his alchemist group, his MLM. He was given to talk to his leaders, and so I commented, "Yep, there's always new levels," and he commented back, "And new devils." So trying
mm,
to figure out how to make that coy, but basically, in leadership, in anything, there's always going to be a new level of growth and a new devil right there with it that you have to look in the eye, figure out, deconstruct, get past,
wow.
get over.
There's always new levels and new devils.
Yes.
Boom.
Yeah, that one hits you. So just ask yourself or comment below how many books have you read in the last year?
Mm.
No shame, but get your butt over to Audible. Oh, by the way, if you are not an Audible member, you could go to forceforgrowth.com and get 2 free books while we're on that subject. Two,
Two, two, two. Not one, but
two.
yay. What else, Courtney?
Oh,
How are
I get
we ending the
excited about
week?
Audible
What's been
books.
going on this week? Did you have any good lessons this week that you learned about yourself, or learned about somebody else, or the world, or the universe?
Yes. Okay. So it was a big week. It was the last week. I'm in insurance sales. So that monthly rotation to the last week is always intense. It was wonderful. I'm very proud of the progress and how I ended up, but you got to keep moving. So when you have a really difficult situation that you're not sure if you can solve, you're not sure what to do, just how far can you get it? And then
Mm.
ask for help or look at your resource box or, and then from there, how far can you get it? So there are just a lot of situations that in my brain, I'm like, that's going to take 8 hours to do. But when I really stopped and looked at it, it was 5 minutes here, 5 minutes, a few hours later when I got a response from an underwriter and was able to find that solution, which I mean, it just, I when you're the hunter looking for a solution and you find one, that's amazing. So, but I had to grow up to that. I didn't just
Wow.
get that. And we learned a few more resources for the entire agency based off what I found out. So, always a good thing to
Hmm.
input.
Well, you know what, Courtney? You, are you listening to me?
I'm listening. Yes.
You, Courtney, you are the only person in this world, in the universe, in the history of existence that made something out a bigger problem than it really is.
Right?
No one else has ever done that before. No one else has ever felt that way before. No one else has made a mountain out of a molehill.
Hmm.
Just you.
That's reassuring to know I'm not alone in it. What is, if y'all are listening, leave us a feedback. How do you, when you, there's no way, how do you find a way?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
if you are struggling with that right now, just a great tip that a lot of folks say, but I learned it through Tony Robbins. How have you been your own mentor before? What was the most difficult point in your life? How did you get through that? What worked, what didn't, you know? Because granted, in our past, we were probably still playing up some limiting beliefs and things like that. So, but you have wisdom to give yourself. You just got to listen and talk to yourself and be honest and authentic.
Such good reflective questions.
Thank you.
For me, last week, last Friday, we had Becky Blake on, and she talked about the idea of building the plane in the air, building the plane in the air.
I love that.
And that's always been a philosophy of mine, but I've never been able to put it into words until she used that analogy of building the plane in the air.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can you imagine how quick you have to build that plane in the air so it
Yeah.
doesn't crash?
Right. That, but man, pressure makes things happen.
It does. It does. And so me and Becky started a new podcast. And one of the things was I just had to go for it. She was ready to go. And I had to step up my game and be like, either yes or no. Let's do it or not do it. And I believe in her mission so much that I was like, let's go for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, what can you go for? What can you go for that maybe you think you're not quite ready? Maybe you think it's too stressful. Maybe you think you don't really know or that you're not prepared or these other what BS
Yeah.
thoughts in
Belief
your
system.
yeah. Yes, belief systems, not the other BS.
Right.
We're a G-rated show.
Yeah. And I love that it literally I got to witness that happen and that was an amazing I learned so much and I still need to go back and re-listen to it a few more times because it just Becky is on fire. But that conversation happened literally right after the recording. And it was like,
Yes.
"Hey, I can help you with this." And she's like, "That's great." It was two person with a mission, person with the resource and knows how to do it. To you, that's easy. To
Let's
her,
go.
it wasn't yet, only because she hadn't learned those steps. Whereas she a genius in so many other areas that will benefit millions if we can get the word out, right?
Yes. But you gotta be prepared for that opportunity. Are you prepared right now as we speak for the opportunity that you're looking for to fall in your lap? And
And will you oh,
I'll give you a little tip. I'll give you a little tip. You don't even really have to be prepared. Are you just willing to try? Are you willing to put forth the effort to learn and build that plane in the air?
mhm. The biggest point, don't hesitate. Don't hesitate.
Mhm.
I mean, yes, if it's a bad feeling, if gut feeling saying don't do this, that's different. If it's something you feel good about, you want to do, you found a new resource for it, don't hesitate. Like the resource being handed to you was your sign. And
Yes.
people are sitting there with all the resources they need, being like, oh, just give me a sign. I'm meant to do this. You're ignoring 10 of them. So just go. And that's where, if, maybe you'll learn something from this one person, but they'll introduce you to somebody that can absolutely help you do the whole thing. So you don't know how many people are waiting to be connected through you either, that you're
Correct.
holding back other connections because you're just hanging out where you are.
So just be ready. Not even prepared. Not even if you don't even have to be 100% ready to jump at the opportunity, but be prepared where at in your mind
Mm-hmm.
and believe in yourself that you can do it, that you can figure it out, that you can build the plane in the air, that you can rearrange your schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just talking about all of that because that's what I had to go through. We had to rearrange some things over here in the Leon household to make it work, but you know what? It's worth it. It's worth it. I believe in her mission and it's going to change people's lives and that's what we're about here at Force for Growth. It's
What is
about
the
growth.
name of the podcast?
Behavior revolution.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
What a strong name.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not to be taken lightly.
Man, that's another thing you can do. Even if you don't do anything on your business, you can just think of a name. And then tomorrow, you just think of your tagline. And so break it into bite sized chunks. Just how much farther can you get it today?
Yes. What do you
Mm,
got going on next week, Courtney? What's on your plate for next week? Let's just catch up.
let's
Let's get personal. Let's let people know what's
Yeah,
going on
okay.
in our
It's
lives.
February, so it I kind of so at my new career, 2020 was my practice year, 2020 was, "Hey, here's how to do it. Now let's flip it upside down because of COVID," so, I really hit the reset button at the beginning of this year. I'm in rolling myself in an intensing coaching program, with my bosses and just polishing everything I can, just because I'm good here or here doesn't mean I can't improve all of this or that I need to wait until I receive that type situation to learn about it. So I took a lot of webinars. So anyway, I signed up for a lot more this next week, but just keeping it moving. So I'm learning a lot on how to fit in the networking, how to fit in the education for each carrier consistently, because that's our motto at our agency. We are better every day. And we mean it. So how to fit all that in and do more of a volume than I did last month, which that was a stretch. So, but I'm not going to lie and say I can't do it. I'm not going to tell myself, oh, you only did this much last month. That means this is a realistic goal. No, no, I'm shooting for the stars. If I land halfway, I'm still going to be proud of that. But the next month, I'm still going to. So just gearing up and reminding myself it's not time management. We all have the same amount of time. It's what is a priority. What do I really want to be doing? And just making sure whatever's on your plate, you actually want to give your time. It's the most valuable resource.
Question,
Yes, sir.
Courtney.
Yes.
You were mentioning taking all these webinars and doing all this stuff and really polishing things up, right?
Hmm.
How do you keep from getting yourself overwhelmed when you pile on and pile on and pile on?
Oh, good question. When I get overwhelmed, you need to stop. uh, no, like the I would slow it down. So I wouldn't say I overwhelmed myself this last week. I don't think I love learning, so I'm a weird one. But with that said, if it's too much info, just stop. What can you do with chapter 1? Just pay attention to chapter 1 today. That kind of just this carrier. Just see if I can practice a few yacht quotes with this carrier. Just see that new system. So it's just playing around with it, but, you know, I don't know. Some things you need to learn hands on and stop because the thoughts are overwhelming. You need to do stuff with your hands. You need to actually talk to somebody that works on that or sit with somebody or practice it. Whereas other things, you need education. You
Mm,
need your mind needs to be filled up with more resources that are around you because you can't see them right now. If you can't see them, they can't help you. So it's a balance,
it's a
but I mean,
balance.
you got to listen to where you are.
The thing that came to mind here when you said that is I gotta we got a spin bike last week last week sometime when we put it together over the weekend,
How
right?
are you liking it?
Well, I get on the
He
little
listens.
I get on the live training thing, and I'm still I got like the shorts with the padding and then the seat with the padding and all that kind of good stuff, right? And it's a great workout though. It's a really great workout. And I'm definitely feeling my body changing. But one of the things that the trainer says on there is slow down, but don't quit.
Mhm.
If you can't keep up with me, just slow down, lower the intensity, but don't come to a complete stop. We want to keep that body moving. We want to keep the momentum moving. We want to keep the blood flowing.
Mhm. All the flow. Yeah, just don't stop the flow. That's
Correct.
kind of to sum up all of this, just don't stop the flow. So if that means, last year I read a ton of books and I went to all these seminars and whatever, but you haven't done anything, now it's time to practice. Now it's time to get your hands involved. Now it's time to actually fail a few times, and be proud of because you tried. So failures aren't a bad thing. Okay. To me, I'm like, that's keeping my energy flowing in that area. So the more energy I flow by actually acting on something, whether it'll work or not, I'll get clarity on what will work. It's that whole
Mm,
perfection. You can't really tell people hold off waiting to start until it's perfect. And that's what a lot of people are doing by going to more seminars, reading more books, reading this. Oh, if I just learn one more thing, if I just, you know a lot more than you think you do. And the bigger lesson is you thinking it's outside of you.
mm.
So you don't have to read one book, one seminar. It's still worth trying and just practicing and playing around with
I'll tell
your
you what's
life.
missing. If you keep on thinking more seminars, more books, more this, more that, you know what's missing? It's the community.
That's
You
yeah.
need a strong tribe. You need a strong community. And Facebook groups are great. They can connect you with people all over the world, but you need more than just a Facebook group. You need to hop on a Zoom call with some like minded people. You need to have conversations that engage and enrich your mind.
Mhm.
And I'm all for continuing to learn because you want to, because you're insightful, because you want to see what it's about, because you're curious and interested in the material, not because you're looking for it to give you a breakthrough. There's a difference there,
Yeah.
right? If
You
you're learning
mentioned
to learn and because you're curious and because the material is interesting, that's great. But if you keep on picking book and seminar and this and that because that's the one thing that's gonna really get me over this hill. That's the one thing. That's the missing piece. No,
it could
no.
help, but it could actually put you farther back if it doesn't help you realize what he
Correct.
just said. And you mentioned childlike curiosity, childlike wonder. At what age in your life or what chunk of time did you learn the most you ever have, the most efficiently when you were a child?
Yes.
Because you had fun. You got out, you ran around on recess, So if you don't ever get up from your desk for 8 hours a day, so you got to feed that curiosity, but actual movement, it's what Tony Rodden teaches and why he has us dance around like crazy because in that state, what you are learning is I know, I automatically want to start. It's so much more powerful. You learn at a rapid pace, you retain so much more. You just
Yes.
actually resonate with the message. Whereas if you're an adult, just if your mode of listening and learning is just, somebody you could care less for the speaker, taking notes, you're bored, you're on your phone the whole time, like you're not really in that class. Your
No.
physical body is, but mentally you are gone. And that type stuff is wasting your time. Even if it's the greatest seminar in the world, even if you got a free ticket, if you aren't mentally there, it's a waste of time.
Yes.
But yeah, that childlike wonder is a big one because that's literally my ticket. Like, okay, let's pretend I don't know Ricardo. And I'm like, oh, I want to talk to that guy or build a relationship with that, business or something. I would literally just be like, what am I curious to know more about you? And I would ask curious questions because people can feel authenticity and they can
That's
also
that's
feel
such a great
phoniness.
connection question. That's such a great connection question. Like, if you go in there with that question in mind, you're gonna have a totally different experience and a totally different conversation than, "Let me go connect with that person so I can see what I can get out of it."
Yeah. Versus, hey, how are you? Great. How's the weather? Hey, isn't it Kyle
Sounds
Cease that makes a joke about he talks about a guy hitting on a girl in an elevator and the bad example is like, "Hey, yeah, the weather or something," but he's trying to make small talk. Literally just making an assumption about what he thinks the girl wants him to ask. Whereas Kyle Cease is like, "What if he were to turn to her and be like, "You are so beautiful. I have no idea what to say right now. I'm sitting here trying to think of something to say." What would get him a yes to a date?
wow. Love it.
So, I mean, that authenticity goes a long way and people can feel it.
It does. Great episode today, Courtney.
Thank you. I
We
agree.
dropped a lot of
Very
golden
wholesome.
nuggets here, so make sure you go back and re-listen, get out your notebook, get out your journal, take some notes, and reflect on the information that we dumped on you. A
Yeah.
lot of stuff here.
Yeah, there is. And thank you for shout out to Mark Cuban. That was a great article and Success Magazine.
Thank you. Thank
Doing
you. Make sure
wonderful
you go
stuff.
visit the article. Full article, I'll put it in the comments below so you can go read the entire article at
And
success.com
share it with your team. I mean, it's such a good one. If you're in business, like send it out to your team members.
for sure. Thank you
Mhm.
so much for tuning in, and we'll be back on.
Monday.
Bye,
Yeah, I had
everybody.
to think on that. Bye.